Thank you all for coming. I'm excited to see so many people here. My name is Tim Dolan. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a librarian here at GCC. And just thank you all so much for coming out to celebrate Poetry Month, which April is, and also to celebrate the relaunch of Plum, which is GCC's literary journal, which is back after a few years hiatus. Our program for the day is going to be in two halves. The first half is going to be a reading by local poet and former GCC faculty member Maria Williams. And then the second half is going to feature readings from folks who contributed to this most recent issue of Plum, which is available at that table in the back if you don't have one already. So let's get started. Maria Williams taught at GCC for 13 years in the English department, and Maria was the original faculty advisor for Plum years ago. Maria's poetry has appeared in the Bellevue Literary Review, Pank, Quarterly West, Allium, and Bateau, among other publications, and she is also the recipient of residencies and fellowships from Gentel, PEN America, the Vermont Studio Center, A Room of One's Own, and the Summer Literary Seminars. Most recently, Maria is the author of White Doe, a book of poems that won the first Daily Prize, and she is also the author of the chapbook A Love Letter to Say There Is No Love, which is from Future Cycle Press. Copies of White Dove are available on that back table for purchase at a very reasonable price. And Maria will also be happy to tell you where to find the chapbook online, also at a reasonable price. So, without any further ado, please welcome Maria Williams.
There are literal oops, I'm standing on here. So thank you so much for having me. Can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you so much for having me here. I absolutely love GCC. I was a student here right after high school, and I can honestly say that my teachers and the community here changed my life. I was a sort of lost student who didn't know where she was going, and all I knew was that I liked to write. And the professors here gave me the courage and the freedom to write and introduced me to books that shaped the way I think about the world. You know who you are. So thank you, GCC. I was also a teacher here for 13 years, and I was lucky enough to be the faculty advisor to Plum for a good 4 or 5 years, which was an amazing experience. So it is a deep honor to come back and to read at the relaunch of Plum with Cindy Snow now at the helm. So I'm super, super excited to see this journal come back to life. It is important work. Student literary journals bring a diverse community together of students and teachers and community members like me, and they act as like a bonfire. We can sit around and hear each other's stories, and when we do that, we begin to understand each other a little bit better, and divisions are bridged and things like that. So it's a really important work. I think especially in this time of deep political division, so stories and poems matter in a way that we don't often think that they do, because we really need to hear each other. We need to hear each other's voices and each other's stories, and that's originally when I started Plum with the idea that the students really wanted to have a place where all those stories could exist, because we do have a diverse community of people with all sorts of experiences and beliefs and thoughts and feelings. So that's why it's so important, and I'm so glad I'm here. And I'm going to read. So I have a book out, White Doe. I'm going to read from that. But I'm kind of excited about some other work that I'm putting together right now. So I'm going to do what I used to tell all the students, is that writing is a risk. So I'm going to take a little risk and read some work, but I'll give you a little bit of background about what I'm doing. White Doe is a book about my father. My father had a long forgetting, a long 10 years of dementia, slow gradual dementia. So I wrote a book about sort of wondering about what that was for him. What is the world of dementia? What is that about? So I'll read to you from that after. And then the second work that I'm doing is about my mother, who has passed away now. And my mother was, I think it's timely just because my mother escaped the Russians. She left Lithuania on foot when she was 7 years old with her 8 brothers and sisters. Her father was the vice president of Lithuania at the time, and because he was an aristocrat, they really had to get out of there. And my mother came to the States and had a family, and she adopted me. And she was this amazing person, but also like really traumatized by the war. And so I'm writing sort of to understand in that like journey to make bridges, to understand what was going on with my mother in lots of ways. So I'm going to read from that. So I'll read a few poems from that, and then I'll read White Doe. So this is called Field. You are in a field. The words buzzing and teeming apply. Light breaks against every shiny wing here, every thin blade. It shatters the earth's sparkling dirt. Like a poem, you are alone. As we have all been, we, your mothers, who have left you. Those daughters, witnesses, bodies in snow. Your first memory is of a patch of sky and a crow circling. We are that crow. That crow is your mother's. Our shadow is drawing a ring around you, as it was drawn around us all those centuries. My mothers will come back, you might shout to the crow, and to the light above it, O Lord, and who, and what, and why. Silence is a language too, as is flight and disappearance, as is field. Field humming, field busy, field teaching her flock. Field is a bosom, field's apron of light. Your mothers left you in a field of silver grasses. Echo is a poem too, as in insistence. Your mothers left you, left. Your mothers left you like a poem leaves you in the blades, field and crow. See the farmer in the distance, his scythe arching up behind him, swing and cut, all the mothers cawing. He knows not why he lifts his scythe, why every day he swings it. The same song over and over. Cut, 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 cut. What is the word for when your muscles do what your brain has not remembered yet? Field and her wisdoms, field's chatter and chores, field itchy, field vastness, field tossing her hair, as a mother, as dream, field insect, field bird, field lost in her thoughts, uttering, murmuring, field as a ghost. Dear child, in the field a puddle will appear, a strange, gleaming creature. You will see yourself in its eye. After a day, it will dry. Poem, swaddle. Poem, hush. Poem, hold you tight. There are 144 words for alone. One is lonely, one is only, one is forget.
So that's the opening. This is in my mother's voice, imagined voice. I don't remember the bombs of Kaunas. I don't remember the bombs of Kaunas. My hands are their own boat, memories a slipping river. I remember the truck and my mother's arms offering me up, the soldier in the driver's seat beside me. Trembling, gear shift, a wolf's red tongue, blink with the light and are gone. I remember Cole pressing down the hills and rising, his fingers spidering toward me. I was a smokestack. I was a tree. I was the warmth of my mother's bosom, up my lap, under my skirts, that soldier, that thief. I can't, I won't. Hum. Isn't that how engines run? How bullets race out their barrels? This is called Sometimes the Sound of a River. Sometimes the sound of a river shakes me. Sometimes a hush of snow, soft scratch of a dustpan brush like hay. I am taut as laces, the house bright as knives. My hands are always chafed from scrubbing war from my mouth, my eyes. War is a loop, my mind a collection of blazes. I tried, dear daughter, to keep everything in its place or erase. Otherwise, sometimes the cry of a bird tests me. Sometimes the slow, grinding train. I make a fist and spit and bellow as if I am a murder. Bed's not made, the children's hands so tiny. And then the last one I'll read from this is kind of in my own voice. It was an out-of-body night. It was an out-of-body night. My mother hid hides in a loft above sleeping cows, fists tight, like she lays now in her hospital bed on the second floor, fisted, at least in her mind, yet look, her palms are shining. Her brothers and sisters are curled around her again, lice in their heads, hunger in their breath, the stars far and silent, almost budding. A farmer, bent like a question, allowed them to stay, his own hands heavy around a shovel, left them water like the cows had water, said leave just after sunset, please. My mother doesn't sleep. Her eyes are wide, like the farmer's fields that night where she heard the soldiers shot and hardened before her mother pushed her through the tree line. I was a single star, she used to say, and now I am a body. In her hospital gown, I see her as both shining. The farmer sat at our table, always, followed her to bed, and here he is again, gripping his shovel, saying goodnight, asking her to leave. So that's the mom stuff. I'll just read a couple poems from White Doe. So the idea about White Doe is that forgetting dementia, if you look into the world of that, to me it was like sort of like a snow globe, and snow was covering memory. So that was still there underneath. The person was still there underneath, and then it's just an exploration of like me and my dad kind of going through these snowy landscapes and wondering what am I wondering what that world is about? And the white doe is a character that comes through. So I'm going to read, there's a long poem in the beginning, but I'm just going to read the first page of it so you kind of get the feeling of the white doe, and then I'll read two other poems. The doe. Weather. On the other side of the glass, a meat truck pushes through it on the road. Thick flakes stick to telephone wires. Would you like a cup of coffee? Milk, you say, a bowl. White doe-like glass, white doe among the evergreens, white doe beside the shed, beside the house, white doe under the covers, hooves sticking out. We sit sipping beside the window, put dishes in the sink, sigh over the lip of the drain. I am alone, Dad. I am in mourn and quiet. Between us, a small chorus of trees. You start crying like the birds. You were crying yesterday. There's the common room. This, the apostrophe. And that poem goes on, and the doe comes in and out of their snowy world as the father kind of finds his way to death. And then here's another poem more about dementia and my dad. It's called Boat. If dementia were a boat, it would be the moon. If a moon, a submarine, no particular orbit, perpetual night, her flying objects, space trash, black flies, a child paddling without a sea, his mother, whose mother, lady in the ink, no one to whisper, get up, it's late, time for bed. It's good to see you, moon. Come sit by the portal, wipe your spoon, enjoy a parade of muzak, soft foods, hard sleep. Dementia would be a man floating past a spaceship window, a cow with its head caught in the lake, my father essaying through a field against frozen stalks of rain, a property change, the air into atmosphere, shit on the wall, he keeps putting his hands in his pants and smearing feces on the flowered paper, to hieroglyphs, a new language from a black cave, bats, 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 fly out his mouth by the thousands. And then I will read, actually I want to read two, that's okay. Sorry. Okay, here it is. Okay. My father is Carcass, my mother is Fly. I just wanted to add this one because it has my mom in it and we just heard about her. My father is Carcass, my mother is Fly. See how she hovers over that terrified horde, his mouth a blazing window, as if all questions are answered by a great blast of sun. See his ribs stretched white and her wet wings shimmering, eyes multiplying in many years. This must be love. How she touches down on his lips and nibbles there. How she lights on his chin and rubs her tiny hands to start a tiny fire. Maybe her heart is in those hands, as it has always been, busy, burning. I admit it is good to see her weightless finally, winged, forgetting all I have not forgiven yet. Hi, Mom, I whisper into the tune. See her pause, then a light, land on his eye, and pierce the smallest pinprick into his cornea. See the sun's dark crown. You are both still inside me, she whispers back. This the end and the beginning. His palms are small cups. Come and drink. And to end, I will read a poem called Funeral. When the Pope died and the funeral was on, a cardinal hopped from the feeder to the bush, back to the feeder. I was too young to know how to be alive. The red bird flitted to a tree. It disappeared among the branching. I turned from the window back to the room, that womb, to find Dad weeping at the set. So strange to have heard his grief as wind beats. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, and books are there.
Thank you, Maria. Hi everyone, I'm Laura Ronan and I'm a student here at GCC. I've been working alongside Tommy Nielsen, Lyndall Hart, and Cindy Snell to revive GCC's Literary Magazine Plum for its first edition since 2018. Thank you all for being here. Before we begin with our reading, I'd like to take a moment to recognize the artists featured in Plum. If anyone is here and would like to stand and say their name and the title of their piece.
Hello, my name is Steve Dempsey. My piece is called Ruth Bader Ginsburg in Yard.
My name is Sally Reed, and my piece is called Trinity Jesus, the one with the yellow and the wood.
Sarah Potter.
My piece is Great to Great.
So to begin our reading, I would like to invite up Hollis Cox to read A Conversation.
Hello, I'm Hollis Cox. I'm a senior at GCC, and my pronouns are he, him, his. So my mental illnesses and I are talking in my head, and it looks like one of those therapy-based support groups. I'm sitting in the middle since it's my turn to go. They all have their outfits. Autism wears their third new outfit that day, bright and mismatched, but so very unique. Rocking slightly in their chair, hands fidgeting with the hem. ADHD is pacing, barefoot. Throw-aside sweater hanging off one shoulder, an iced espresso cup in one hand, a notebook in the other, filled with half-finished ideas we never revisit. Dyscalculia is sitting cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by a scatter of receipts and numbers they can't quite make sense of, her face scrunched in frustration as they doodle to forget how lost they've been. CPTSD sits stiffly in the corner, wearing what I wore on the worst day of my life, their eyes darting like they're waiting for the floor to crack open and swallow us whole. Eating disorder lounges on the edge of the group, clutching an empty plate like a trophy, their oversized hoodie swallowing them, a smirk on their face that hides the ache underneath. Sertraline is there too, sitting quietly off to the side, wearing scrubs like a patient nurse, passing me a glass of water and a small yellow pill. They don't say much, but their presence feels steady, grounding, a whisper that says, keep going. ADHD blurts out, we've got so much to do. Their words overlap with autism, who mutters, can we just do one thing at a time, please? Dyscalculia groans, do we have to do anything involving numbers? We'll mess it up again, I always do. CPTSD doesn't speak, but the weight of their silence is deafening, the constant reminder of the shadows we carry. Eating disorder pipes up, her voice sharp and sly. We should skip dinner tonight. You don't really need it, do you? The words cut, but sertraline catches my gaze, steady as ever, or meant me to breathe. And me? I sit in the middle, the only one without an outfit, holding all of their voices like tangled threads. Maybe, I say, that my voice shakes. Maybe we don't have to figure out all today. Maybe the fact that we're here, talking, breathing, existing is enough. The room doesn't fall silent, it never does. But for a moment, it feels lighter, and I think maybe I'll make it through another day.
Thank you, Hollis. Next we have Joanne Hayes reading One Woman Walking.
undergraduate and majoring in English, I was so excited about reading literature that used a voice similar to mine. And you can imagine when I got into American literature, there were all male authors and no diversity whatsoever. So Anglo-male authors. So I went to British literature, and there I found Jane Austen, the Brontes, and George Eliot, who is above the top. She's great. Marianne Evans. So at that moment, then at graduate school, I went into American Studies and History, and that things started changing. But this poem reflects sort of my journey as well as what the poem represents. And thank you to the artist who has the title Ruth Bader Ginsburg. One woman walking. For the founding 5 of Greenfield Community College Gender and Women's Studies. One woman walking toward a rising sun, taking in more sights and sounds of earth, opening to new sensations free from fear. 5 women reaching toward a whole new world, when equity in arts and science, in living fully every day, is possible. Thousands marching toward a planet that allows full trees to grow, that inhale, exhale every peaceful breath. Millions pondering what lives they'll lead, not only how each moon will rise, but how each breeze will blow, billowing sails beneath their feet.
Thank you, Joanne. Next we have Aya Thompson reading A Funeral. I stand outside the funeral home, waiting for the procession to begin. The home is a large colonial Pennsylvanian stone house and sits not 200 feet from the Delaware River. There are so many stone buildings in Pennsylvania. I wonder why. I bet Grandpa would have known. Mom comes to stand by me. Your dad went all out. I didn't know you could hire bagpipers for funerals. It's how my great-grandparents met, I think. Great-grandma was a Highland sword dancer. She took bagpiping lessons from great-grandma. I stand by the car and stare across the river in New Jersey, and it starts to rain in an appropriately funerary manner. I visited Grandpa 2 days before he passed. The first night in Pennsylvania, I was afflicted with this awful headache. I foraged the house, searching for pain relief meds. When I saw them, it's been years since she passed, but they were there. 2 pairs of small, pink, orthopedic sneakers. A cut of spring tulips left on the bottom shelf of the mudroom. They must have been moved because they weren't by the front door. Maybe it would have been ghoulish to keep them there. Maybe one of us would have thrown them out. I wonder if Grandpa moved them, unwilling to see them every day, but unwilling to throw them away. I moved away from the stinging scene in the mudroom, searching for relief. In my grandfather's house, there are many rooms. Rooms that hold TVs that no longer work, extra mattresses that create lean-tos in the living room. In his driveway, there is a red Ford Probe, sun-bleached and flat-tired, that he swore he'd fix one day. There's a side table that contains 120 Celtic and bagpiping records, but no record player. There's a chest of drawers filled with plastic bags, and there are bins filled with birthday cards. Under his bed, there is a wooden board screwed into the box springs. I open the hallway closet. There are storage boxes labeled makeup and baking, and other with lacy Easter egg-colored socks. My headache deepens. I was just trying to find some meds. Wazaleski reading VA Waiting Room.
I'd like to thank all the organizers today. It's a great turnout. And the place doesn't look the same when I was here in 2001. It looks a lot different. It still feels the same. I came late this morning, this afternoon, and it felt right to be coming late. So this piece, VA Waiting Room, is from a collection, Consoling the Weeping Willow. It's hard to walk into the VA. President's face larger than life, and the VA secretary smiling blandly. The American flag proudly centered. A wall full of pamphlets from every group. Smiling, joyful face at the desk. A new one, again. One face lasted a year. Last 4, please. I rattled off my social as she keyed it in. Oh, yes, sir. Your appointment is in 20 minutes. So it said. The older veterans all stare and smile, avoiding eye contact so as not to try to talk lightly about Iraq or hear, thank you for your service, again, like we ever want to be thanked for what we did. The things we did over there break us. Each deal with it in our own way. Being thanked brings the wars rushing back. Humpty Dumpty can't be put back together again. But I can keep faith and tell the story. Amongst this, as Odysseus faced trials coming home, so must we anew. Some never finished the trip. It's too far. So I continue on for them and take up this ink pen to blind the Cyclops.
Thank you, Eric. Next we have Lindy Whiten reading Watching Kingfisher.
Yeah, that's good. I'm not much taller than you, Maria. No, I'm fine. Watching Kingfisher. How lucky I would be if I could stand upon a branch and soak in the blue and greens of a spot of water instead of placed around a table with people who don't take time to breathe or understand each other.
Thank you, Lindy. That brings us to our Plum team. If one of our student editors, Lyndall Hart, is up next.
Everyone's a comedian, including the Peter Pan bus driver. He seems normal enough until we're on the road. With him at the wheel and on the microphone, he's got a captive audience. This bus will make the following stops: New Britain, Connecticut, Hartford, Connecticut, Springfield, Northampton, Greenfield, Massachusetts, Brattleboro, Vermont, and points north to White River Junction. Estimated time of arrival is when you get there. I see him practicing his delivery at home in the bathroom mirror, making sure his face doesn't give away his punchline. He perfects his timing, gets it just right before delivering it to his audience. But we are a small and unresponsive group. When he gets home, will he tell his wife we were a tough crowd?
Thank you, Lyndall. I am up next. Let me find my moment here. This is called Almost Pottery. Unearthen shards from where they lay, encase you now in my clay. Sculpt and mold from what I find, a beating heart undoubtedly mine. A kiln for you, akin to me, brings forth ceramic poetry. Cindy, would you like to read yours? Okay, we have Cindy Snow reading Sleep. Can you hear me okay?
Sleep. At night, when she can't fall asleep, she plays a word game she learned from an anxious insomniac friend. Think of a theme. Think of words linked to that theme. Say them to yourself in alphabetical order. Fruits and vegetables are affected. A, apple, B, banana, C, cherry, D, dill, E, eggplant, and so on. Animals and birds work well too, until arriving at Q and X. Luckily, she remembers quail and quetzal, and recently she learned of xeris, a small burrowing rodent in Africa. Geography doesn't work for her. Oh, she can name continents, countries, rivers, mountain ranges, deserts, even obscure land formations. She's good at that. But the images won't let her go. Gaza, Sudan, Ukraine, Washington, D.C. She's up all night.
Thank you, Cindy. Next up, we have Tommy Nielsen reading The World is Better, They Say.
The world is better now that you are here. That was what the sign above the entrance read. It was wooden, the letters were black. I remember analyzing it as I shuffled off the bus, my mind going through the motions of acceptance, making sure to harden my features, set my shoulders, align my stare. I thought of my daughter. I was glad I talked to her the night before. There would be a hold. Communication was a privilege, of which I held none. I don't think the world is better. No, I don't think it's better at all. We shuffled in line one by one. The guards, in hopes of displaying how tough they were, stood in the line as the warden himself did his welcoming speech, reminding us of our standing, reminding us of our place. Gut pushed out, the man was hefty, a good old boy with a heart attack around the corner. I don't think the world is better. No, I don't think it's better at all. One by one, they shaved our heads. They said it was for sanitation, but I found it to be a lesson in degradation, a way of breaking us, which was what this was all about. It was about control. They had it, we had none. Locks fell, beards fell, hair piled, as the barbers, inmates themselves, cut the hair off our faces, our heads, to be bagged and trenched. I don't think the world is better. No, I don't think it's better at all. We were assigned our dorms, which housed around 200. The jungle, beds stacked 3 high, single file, with no more than 3 feet between each bed. Our homes. We kept them neat, as most convicts do, as a way of keeping control over what we could. It was hot inside our concrete fortress, as summer in South Georgia is. Sweat poured from the walls and tensions flared. When violence broke out, I thought of the families. Brothers, sons, and fathers with loved ones alone. I don't think the world is better. No, I don't think it's better at all.
Thank you, Tommy. Now, is there any other GCC student, faculty, or alum who had a piece in Plum that they would like to read that we may have missed? So we would like to thank the GCC Library for hosting this event, Maria Williams for her beautiful reading, all of the GCC staff who helped assist in bringing this edition to fruition, and to everyone who contributed their artwork and writing to Plum. This magazine has been a labor of love, and we could not have been able to do it without your support. And thank you all for coming. Have a great day.